Greetings, friends. I am so delighted to have this opportunity to provide you with an overview for the prayer ministry of the 2016 General Conference. As a way of background, this ministry comes as the result of 3 invitations. First, from the Council of Bishops General Conference Worship Committee, who has asked the Upper Room to create a prayer guide for the delegates and leaders. That 60-day guide of prayer will be available to all of you as a PDF download in multiple languages, and I'll say more about that in a minute. But it's the gift of the Upper Room to the United Methodist General Conference. Secondly, there's the invitation of the host committee for the Upper Room to come and partner with them to create a prayer ministry, a prayer space, and to provide prayer delegates and guides who can help us pray together with and for the delegates of the General Conference. And my time as the Dean of the Upper Room Chapel is our gift to the host committee. And then finally, the invitation of the Council of Bishops of the United Methodist Church to join them in their 131 days of prayer for the General Conference. Think about it. Never before in the history of the United Methodist Church have our bishops challenged us, the United Methodist people, to pray together for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 131 days, the exact number of active annual conferences, beginning December 31st and going until May the 9th, 2016. This is a special moment in history. The prayer ministry team wants to ask you, the members of the United Methodist Church, to pray with the delegates using the resources we'll name, and to pray for the delegates of the General Conference. First, to pray for the delegates themselves. You'll be provided with the names of the elected representatives and the alternates and the active Council of Bishops, who are our primary leaders for the General Conference in 2016. In addition, we're going to ask you to help us prayerfully create a strand of Protestant prayer beads that we will make and give at the opening worship service to remind them physically that we are with them in prayer. Secondly, we want to ask you to join us to intentionally create events that will not just be the one day your annual conference prays, but that you would gather regularly to pray with and for the General Conference leaders, using the resources that you'll find on our prayer website. And thirdly and finally, our hope is that we will create a network of prayer teams and intercessors that will continue to pray for God's will, in God's way, and in God's time, before, during, and after the General Conference. Now, let me say a little bit more about the 60-day guide to prayer. I have it here in my hands. I've downloaded it and printed it. You'll be able to do that, not only in English, but in every one of the official languages of the General Conference. In Kiswahili, in Portuguese, French. It'll also be available in Spanish and Korean. And we're actively seeking other partners. If you would like to have a copy of it and translate it into your language, we would be happy to partner with you in that way. The next aspect of the prayer ministry, beyond the prayer guide and the resources for 131 days and 60 days, is a prayer website with a prayer wall, 60daysofprayer.org. And you'll see that on your screen. Here you'll find not only the PDF downloads, you'll find additional resources for organizing a prayer day. You'll find video training in how to use the prayer guide, how to create the Protestant prayer beads, why we use it, and how to pray with it. In fact, you'll also find a prayer wall and a prayer calendar so that you can click on a day of the week and commit yourself to pray for 30 minutes or an hour that particular day. That's the prayer website. Next is the app. There's a smartphone tablet app that has been created by the United Methodist Communications team, and it'll include all of the prayer resources and a link to the prayer website I've mentioned. You'll also find at the General Conference itself a prayer room, a place of beauty and grace, Ballroom 204, where there will be prayer delegates, spiritual directors, and others there. In fact, some of you may want to come and join us. If you do, you have to apply, register as a volunteer, and then apply to be a prayer delegate. There's a second application that includes a reference from your pastor. But for those who are called, we would love to have you come join us. Then there's also partnerships. We've partnered with every United Methodist board and agency, and we're grateful for all of the agencies working together and praying together. Next, we have our historic partners who have helped the prayer ministry for a number of general conferences: Aldersgate Renewal Ministries, Pray for Renewal, the Prayer Institute at Windsor Village, Hearts on Fire, which is the organization for United Methodist Spiritual Directors, Just Peace, and the Order of St. Luke, just to name a few. Finally, I want to say that there'll be trained spiritual directors. Those positions have all been filled, but they'll be available for appointments all throughout the General Conference. And there'll be opportunities for you to come and join in a day of training, how to use the prayer book, how to make the prayer beads, and how to be a teacher and a leader in prayer, intercessory prayer. And you'll see on the website ways to contact us for that. So all of those things are part of the overview of the prayer ministry. And there's also an opportunity in every jurisdiction in the U.S. and at the training events worldwide where you can gain additional resources and help us make 2016 of the Protestant prayer beads that my friend Kristen Vincent will be telling you about. Thank you for your time, your attention, and for joining us in prayer for God's will, in God's way, and in God's time.